Hi, everyone. Welcome to SBR Sports Picks. My name is Peter Loshak. Today is Friday, November 2nd, and tomorrow from Madison Square Garden, New York City, we do have UFC 230 coming up Saturday night. And we are going to preview right now the main card from a betting and odds perspective with a returning guest analyst, Cliff, a.k.a. Cannoneer from the Loshak and the Bag Show. He's a very nice guy, a very friendly guy, a very good speaker, very well spoken, but none of that really has anything to do with why we have him on as a guest UFC odds analyst, and also someone who writes articles now for SBR covering MMA. It's because his overall record has been awesome since he started giving official picks and tracking them with us. Is that right? Is that right, Cliff?
Yeah, everything's been going pretty good since I started doing picks with you guys, except for last week. I got kind of mauled taking all those big underdogs.
Yeah, and you're writing articles now for SBR on the UFC events, right? And Bellator.
Yeah, actually, it's been really fun. Actually, I'm just getting the ball rolling doing that, and I've always enjoyed creative writing, so it's really cool they gave me the opportunity.
Yes, congratulations, Cliff. You definitely deserved it. Cliff, of course, has been a regular commenter on the Loshak and the Bag Show for a long time, and definitely proven himself with his extensive and exhaustive and encyclopedic knowledge of MMA and UFC betting odds. Let's see what you can tell us about the main event here, UFC 230. It's kind of a weird card, and maybe the weirdest fight of them all is the featured event, right? DC against Derek Lewis. DC obviously is a huge favorite here, as he should be. There's a lot of hype surrounding this fight, and I'm just wondering, obviously DC could get injured. Derek Lewis has a chance. His only real chance to win this one is by catching DC, maybe in the beginning of rounds 1, 2, or 3 with a huge punch. He has lots of questions with his gas tank, lots of questions with his grappling. Looks like he's at a big disadvantage in all ways here against DC, except for the puncher's chance that he definitely will have early in the early rounds of the fight. And that seems like it's about it. What's your take on this one, Cannoneer?
Yeah, you're absolutely right when you say that this is really strange, and even all the way down to the featured fight, it's just an odd card. I mean, the main event from this card dropped out like 3-4 different times. They were shuffling around a women's title fight that fell through, and then they had Poirier versus Diaz, which was originally slated to headline this card, and then that one fell through with injury too. So now we got this one thrown in basically because of Derek Lewis's hype after winning his last fight. It's a last-minute thrown-together fight. You've got the champ against a guy who he completely outclasses, but you're absolutely right. Derek Lewis has that one shot knockout power that can change absolutely any fight, and if he does land that, then even someone like DC can go down. I don't see that happening though.
Yeah, so is DC? I was just gonna say, is this fight bettable at all? Because I'm thinking maybe you got to figure that Lewis is gonna gas at some point. So maybe when he does, DC gets a quick finish. So maybe DC inside the distance, but even that is a huge line at -400. Is this fight bettable in any which way aside from maybe taking a shot with the fight not going 5 rounds, which is currently -1175 at 5 dimes? Again, the fight not going 5 rounds -1175. The fight to actually go to the cards plus 650. Unreal, Cannoneer.
Unreal is right. If there was ever a lock in MMA betting, this fight not going the distance would be it. I'm not going to lay that kind of chalk, though. I actually do think this fight is bettable. I'm going to give you guys a prop pick that I'm actually loving here. This fight goes only one way. And you can get slight dog money plus 120, plus 125, I think, on DC by submission. Nice little nugget of information here for you guys. DC actually still is coming off of a broken hand from his last fight. He wants nothing to do with the stand-up. He's going to stick and move a little bit, try and stay out of danger until Derek Lewis gasses, and then he's putting him on his back. This is exactly what he did to Anthony Rumble Johnson in both of their fights, and Anthony Johnson's probably the hardest hitter that the UFC has ever seen. So DC knows how to handle this situation, and once Derek Lewis gets underneath him, I guarantee he's not getting back up. I like DC by submission. He's not going to throw that broken hand and risk further injury when he's got that Brock Lesnar fight or maybe a rematch with John Jones looming over him. He's going to take the easiest path to victory and get out of there as quick as possible.
Cannoneer, there you go. Cliff, this is what you do. Right now I'm seeing DC by submission at plus 145 at 5 dimes. That might not be a bad play at all, because
even better.
Yeah, again, if you think this is a virtual lock to not go the distance, and DC basically a lot, not 100% lock, but you know, a very strong likelihood of a win by DC, then DC inside the distance is probably how it's going to happen. And if that happens, how's it going to happen? Most likely by sub or by a knockout. DC by let me see, DC by knockout is just plus 125. So actually, the market for 5 dimes at least right now expects DC by knockout as slightly more likely than DC by sub. DC by knockout plus 125, DC by sub plus 145. Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, he showed that he can knock anybody out. When he took the belt from Stipe, he KO'd the heavyweight champion cold. So people know that he's got that striking ability. But Derek Lewis is massively durable. The only guy that's ever finished him was Mark Hunt, and Mark Hunt could KO a horse if he wanted to. So I just think that this is the kind of situation, like I said, the key really is that broken hand with Daniel Cormier. I don't see him throwing fists all that much because of that. Once Derek Lewis gets tired, he knows to go for the takedown. There is some history here. He's fought guys like this before, and that's how he's beat them all, is by submission.
Yeah. All right. So let me ask you this. Yeah, DC is coming to this fight with a broken hand, also on short notice, right? And he's also 39 years old. Is there a chance that actually Lewis, just to win outright, has a little bit of value?
I don't think so. The only way that you can take Lewis is by KO. That's his one path to victory. If this fight is some kind of a stinker and it goes to the scorecards, Daniel Cormier is the one with the wrestling advantage. He's going to be the only one that can win a decision. So honestly, if you want to go heavy on DC inside the distance or DC by submission, kind of like I'm suggesting, and then hedge it off with a 1 or 2 unit bet with Derek Lewis by KO, that should be plus 700, something like that. It's not a bad hedge idea.
All right, so Clint giving us an official play here, DC by sub at plus 145. That's why I was assuming this fight was going to end as well, and I didn't quite realize that the odds were that good. You might have a great play there, Clint, and I might tail that one myself. Let's move on, though. Weidman against Souza is the next fight that we're going to debate here and discuss. And, of course, both these fighters have, tremendous resumes, but they're clearly on the downslope of their careers. And I guess to my eye, even though Souza's, 4 years older or however much older he is than Weidman, Weidman looks like a little bit more beat down. And Souza looks like he might have a little bit more life to him. So I'm thinking maybe Souza shouldn't be the dog here, or at least not as big of a dog as he is right now. The market is also expecting a finish scheduled to go 3 rounds. The under 2.5 rounds is minus 120. Over is 2.5 plus 100. But I'm thinking that this one might actually go the distance. Weidman's going to be able to. He has enough grappling ability to prevent himself from being submitted. And I wouldn't be surprised if this one goes the distance. Wouldn't be surprised if Souza pulls out the win. Jacare pulls out the win, and maybe Jacare by decision is a great bet. What's your take on this one, Clint?
I completely agree. I don't think that I would lock Jacare in by decision. I would just take him at the dog money. I think this line should be closer than it is. Jacare is dangerous everywhere. Chris Weidman is completely untrustworthy these days. He's shown some low-level ring IQ recently. He went on that 3-fight losing streak where he got knocked out brutally a couple of times. His chin is very questionable. And Jacare, even though he's a ground specialist, has some surprising knockout power. He KO'd Derek Brunson and did that with a head kick. Nobody saw that coming. I could see Jacare winning this fight anywhere it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this. Actually, the over has gotten bet up a little bit. The over 2.5 rounds is now a small favorite, and the fight going the distance is plus 105. Fight not going the distance is minus 135, and Souza by decision is plus 535. I think that's quite a likely result here. Souza by decision plus 535. That might have a little bit of value. What do you think?
You know what? I think there is value on that line. Like I said before, though, personally, I think Souza ends this fight. I don't think Chris makes it the full 3 rounds. If it does go to decision, I think that Chris, with the wrestling advantage, would be the more likely one to win a decision. But at that line, you're definitely getting value there.
All right. So you want to make an official pick here, Clint?
Yeah, I'll just take Jacare straight.
All right, and that will be right now plus 160. Unreal, plus 160 at Bookmaker. And Clint is going to take Souza. Hakare at plus 160. I have to think about what I want to make as an official pick here. I am thinking about taking the over and or the fight going the distance at plus 105. Maybe taking Souza to win, or maybe taking Souza by decision at plus 535. I'm kind of thinking that this one is more likely to go the distance, and the market is giving credit for it. But I'll just think about that for a moment here. Now let's move on to Jared Cannoneer and Branch. And this is one of these fights in MMA that we do see a lot, where you have a very talented fighter, a big favorite, kind of in a no-win situation, right? If he gets a win here, it doesn't help him that much. If he gets a loss here, or it doesn't help him at all, really, his overall career trajectory. If he gets a loss, that's a big negative from him. He's also taking this fight on short notice. He was expecting to face Hakare, who is of course a jiu-jitsu guy for a long time, and then at the last minute he has to switch up to a Cannoneer, who's going to be the bigger fighter. It's a different fight stylistically. It's a no-win situation for Branch. All things being equal, I would like Branch here. I would maybe take him as a big favorite, but the spot makes me very nervous. What do you think, Clint?
Yeah, Branch is predominantly a ground fighter himself, actually. He's shown off some real good boxing ability and things like that, but he's a pretty solid ground fighter. And knowing that he was doing a training camp for someone like Jacare, he's going to be real sharp on the ground. I would look for him by submission in this fight. Jared Cannoneer is a throw-in just to fill that gap in, and he's completely outclassed by Branch. But Branch is going to come in, and he's going to make a statement. He's going to show them that this guy is not on his level. It's a late-notice replacement, and someone like Jared Cannoneer coming in on short notice, he cuts a whole lot of weight to get down to that weight class. He's going to be focusing on his weight cut more at the end of his training camp instead of actually focusing on training. He might actually gas out, and I can see Branch hooking up an easy submission.
Yeah, you don't think that the short notice is and the no-win situation for Branch? I mean, you think he wants to make a statement here? Because if he wins, if he wins dominantly, what kind of a statement has he really made? Everyone's expecting it.
Branch is. Yeah, everyone's expecting it, but I think he's going to give it to them because Branch is one of those guys with a chip on his shoulder. He got dropped out of the UFC, and he really felt like he belonged. So he went out and he kicked ass and he took names until they let him back in, and he's been on a tear ever since he got back to the UFC. He's looked real impressive until he ran into Luke Rockhold. He's trying to get back up to the top of the division. Some kind of boring decision over a guy like Jared Cannoneer who might get cut in a fight or two, that's not going to impress anybody. That's not going to turn anybody's head. He's going to want to get that win, get it dominantly, make sure they know he should be in that top 5 and fighting one of those guys like Jacare, like Weidman, like Rockhold again. And I think he's going to go out and try and make sure that's very, very clear.
All right, well, this one reminds me a little bit of the Serkinov fight from last week. I did take Serkinov as a huge favorite. That might have been a mistake, even though I wound up with a winner there. And I'm agreeing with you. All things being equal, I'd be leaning Branch. I was kind of thinking that maybe it'll go the distance, but you're expecting a statement fight from Branch. So maybe just taking Branch at minus 340, which is the current line at Heritage, I might have a little bit of value. I don't like to take these big favorites in MMA. Do you want to make an official pick here, Clint?
What's the submission line again? I'd like to look at that.
Let me find the submission line for you by Branch. Branch by submission plus 360 at 5 dimes right now.
Plus 360. Give me that. I'm on that all day.
And Branch by TKO KO is plus 405. So the market expecting slightly more likely a result that Branch gets a submission as opposed to relative to a knockout.
I think that's accurate. Jared Cannoneer has proven to be very, very tough. He had a real close fight with Ion Cutelaba a couple of years ago, and Ion's another one of those guys that's got brutal knockout power. He couldn't put Cannoneer away. He's got a solid chin.
All right, Branch by sub, plus 360, current line at 5 dimes. He'll make that an official pick for you, Clint. And I was thinking, I was thinking that maybe the fight does go the distance because, but maybe I'm misreading the psychological spot here for Branch. So I was thinking maybe Branch by decision, but Anna Murak's going to take Branch by submission at plus 360. I'll wait for now. Next fight is Jack Marshman and Carl Robertson, and this is an interesting one because Marshman is just one of these guys. He's a straightforward fighter. We know what he does: a boxer, a brawler, and he just marches forward, throws those punches, and tries to force exchanges, overwhelm opponents, all of that. He's a big underdog here, which is understandable, but I think he has a puncher's chance. If he gets a win, it's very likely to come inside the distance, and I'm thinking maybe Marshman catching Robertson here. Marshman inside the distance. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there could be some value there, but honestly, to me, this fight's a complete stay away. This fight shouldn't be on a main card of any UFC fight, and it's only on the main card because of how many fights have been dropped off here. This is something that should be an undercard fight, and both these fighters have got to prove a little more to me before I'm ready to go with either one of them, and the line is definitely wide. So if anyone's going to go with this fight, it's Dogger Pass for sure.
Yeah, Robertson's gotten bet up 100 points, opened at minus 193, now up to plus 290, and so in a fight like this where you have sort of unknowns with both fighters, don't you think that the dog, and especially the dog with the finish that is most likely if the dog wins, is usually worth a flyer?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would never talk anybody off a flyer on a dog fight in a position just like this one.
All right, I'll go with this one. Clint, I'm going to do it. Marshman inside. Marshman inside the distance. Right now it's plus 454. Plus 454 at 5 dimes. And let me see what Marshman by TKO KO is. Actually, it's 585. I'll take that one. Marshman by knockout or technical knockout, plus 585. I mean, that is a somewhat likely result. That is not out of the realm of realistic possibilities, right? Marshman just catches
Absolutely. Him. And you know what, Pete? I'll tell you on that one.
Are
Go
you
ahead
sure?
and put me on the KO as well. Yeah, I like it.
This is going to go on your public record for all times. You sure you want to tail me on this?
I am positive. That's just too much value to give up. That's one of those ones where if it loses, I'm okay with it losing. We're talking a plus 6 unit swing if it comes through. Yeah, let's go.
Plus 585, Marshman by KO or TKO. That's the current line at 5 dimes. And now the last fight on the card, on the main card that we're going to analyze here, Israel Adesanya against Brunson. Adesanya obviously has a huge future in front of him. He should be the big favorite here against Brunson, but Brunson definitely is no slouch. Definitely has a chance to win this fight. The question is, how much of a chance does he have? Adesanya, you know, maybe I could see the argument where he should be like minus 500 or minus 600. He's actually, you know, right around minus 300. Bookmaker has minus 282. You know, Brunson is not a pushover here. Adesanya more talented and should be the big favorite here, but he's not fighting a pushover. This is not a gimme fight for him. Or maybe it is. What do you think, Clint?
You know, I think surprisingly that Adesanya could easily be a bigger favorite in this fight. He's such a smart, cerebral fighter. He's actually got a height and a reach advantage on Brunson, which is not something Brunson is used to dealing with. And I got to tell you, Brunson is trying to change up his fighting style. He's, 34 years old these days? And he fought kind of a more decision-paced style fight against Anderson Silva, and he lost that. He doesn't fight that way. He comes out with his chin up, swings for the KO, swings for the fences, and he finishes or he gets finished himself. That's how he's always fought. And someone like Adesanya is going to play the matador. He's going to stick and move. And he's already come out and said that he wants to make Derek Brunson look stupid. He wants to see that look on his face that he is in the cage with someone who is outclassing him and see that oh shit moment. And then he will finish him, is what he said in some recent interviews. I think Adesanya finishes this one off in the second or the third round to make a point.
Yeah, it is. You know, Brunson is clearly in the role of gatekeeper here, but he's going to be by far the best wrestler that Adesanya has faced in his career. You don't think that's a big deal?
No, I don't, because Brunson, his wrestling pedigree really isn't all that great. I mean, he was a college level wrestler, but it's not like he was a D1 wrestler or anything like that. And even you look at his fights, he doesn't wrestle people. Yeah. He comes out and shoots in for the takedown, gets shucked off really easily. Someone with the height and the reach advantage, like Adesanya, is going to be able to stuff those takedowns. If he gets taken down once, he's real good with that push off to get off of his back. He'll make that space. He'll get back up. Yeah. Brunson is a weird fighter. He does seem to change up his style a lot, and maybe not. Maybe some of those change-ups are a little bit ill-advised. All right, you want to make an official play on this one, Clint? Yeah, what's the inside the distance line on Israel?
Inside the distance for Israel Adesanya. Let's see. Let me find it. Let me just find it. So many fights here. So many props. Scanning. Yeah, where are we? Sorry. Let me just find it. Okay, Adesanya inside is minus 105. By a decision is plus 256. So obviously the market expecting a win, a finish from Adesanya if he does win.
Okay. And is there more? Is there a little more dog on the KO line, or is that the same as the
Let's
inside
see.
the distance line?
Adesanya by KO, TKO plus 125. Yeah, a little bit more. But interestingly, the market expects Adesanya to win and to win inside the distance if he does win. But the fight not going the distance is only minus 175. You might expect that to be a little bit of a bigger line there. Fight going the distance is actually just plus 145. Adesanya inside the distance minus 105, and by KO or TKO plus 125.
That little bit of juice is not quite enough for me. I don't think Adesanya is going to win this by finish, but I would hate to miss out if he shows up with some jiu-jitsu this fight. Yeah. I'll take Israel Adesanya inside the distance at near that even money, and I'd also like to take fight doesn't go the decision, just kind of a value hedge off there in case Brunson shows up and clips his chin.
Okay, so Adesanya inside the distance, minus 105. The fight not going the distance, minus 175. That's the current line at 5 dimes. Let me just see what the under is. Yeah, the total is 1.5. So you don't want the under 1.5 at plus 125. There could be easily a second round or third round finish here, right?
I expect it to be a second or a third round finish, but the problem with it being the minus 1.5 is it could be at the 1 minute and 30-second mark of the second round. Sure. I don't want to touch that 1.5.
Sure. Well, here you go. Check this out. Listen to this. I'm not trying to put you on any plays here, Clint, but I'm just letting you know what some of these odds are. Adesanya wins in round 2, plus 525. Adesanya wins in round 3, plus 1,000.
Wow. See, those are the kinds of plays that I tend not to give out on the SBR picks, but I'll sprinkle on them on my personal account.
Yes.
Actually, Israel Adesanya in round 2 would be my prediction. If you want to put me a unit on that one, I'll take it.
Plus 525. All right. I'm going to still wait and think a little bit about what I want to add to my own personal record. As of right now, just one play for me, Marshman by knockout, plus 585. Here are all the picks that Clint is going official with. DC by submission, plus 145. That one I might tail. That one seems very good. I'm surprised that the market expects a knockout by DC to be slightly more likely than a submission by DC. Clint also has Hakare at plus 160 just to win. Branch by submission at plus 360. Marshman by knockout plus 585. Adesanya inside the distance at minus 105. And the Adesanya fight not going the distance, minus 175. Clint, a.k.a. Annie Marak from the Low Shack in the Bag Show. Thanks so much. Great breakdowns as always. Hopefully we'll do this again very soon.
Sounds great, Pete. I'm happy to come on anytime. Thanks for having me.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.